Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is our morning update. So last night, your boy did something he's very out of character for myself and Carrie. We stayed out past 9 p.m. We went out to see one of my best friends in the whole entire world is the lead singer of the band Otherwise. So they were playing at Vinyl at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. And I worked at the Hard Rock for over 15 years. 11 of those years was spent in the joint, both as a stage manager and as a stage hand. And then I spent 5 more years managing the sports book at the Hard Rock for Cantor Fitzgerald. So it's bittersweet to go to that property now because they're getting ready to close it down. But it's always awesome to hang out with my boy Adrian and his brother Ryan, who's the guitar player in the band. I got to see some friends that I haven't seen in a while. Got to make some connections with some friends I haven't seen in a while, some plans. And it turned out to be a pretty good night. But I will tell you this. I am getting old. Your boy is getting old. There was a point in time where I could go out and just go crazy and never be tired. I don't even drink anymore. And I'm still tired today. My hips were hurting standing around. It's just, getting old is just, it's way overrated. But if you're not familiar with the band Otherwise, make sure you check them out. If you're into rock music and that's the genre of music you're into, without a doubt, you guys will dig Otherwise. And not only are they great musicians, they're just great dudes. Adrian and I we've been friends since 6th grade. So, I don't know, it's a long time. We've been friends for about 27 years, 28 years. And not, like I said, not only a great musician, but just generally great guys. It's kind of guys that stand around and sign autographs until every last fan is gone. Just solid dudes, and their music is incredible, and I highly recommend it to you folks. Check it out. The band is called Otherwise. They have a new album out that just dropped. One of their biggest songs is called Soldiers. I'd say start there, and then work your way through their discography. All right, so we have an article today, and man, 2 more girls. 2 more women. It's just it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me that we have so many women that are coming forward. So many women that were abused by this man. And yet, it's taken this long for the chips to really fall, for the dominoes starting to really, really tumble down. So, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. All right, let's hop into the article. The article is from the Daily Mail. The headline, 2 more women claim master manipulator Jeffrey Epstein raped them for years, got $300 to massage the pedophile in their underwear, and insist he never asked for their age, even though one still had braces. In typical Daily Mail fashion, a bit of a sensationalized headline, but that's how they roll over at Daily Mail. That's cool. They're doing good work on this case, so I'll forgive them their salacious headlines. 2 of the 9 women who filed suit against late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein earlier this month say he lured them to his Manhattan mansion with promises to further their career and employ them as masseuses before raping them. So the MO again, we see it, the pattern. We know what he's up to, we know what he likes to do, and we know what massage means in his world. He never asked my age, one of the accusers, Olivia, told Fox News. In 2004, Olivia was a struggling 19-year-old actress struggling to make ends meet. That's when her roommate told her about an opportunity to make money giving massages to Epstein, who she was told was a wealthy man who could benefit her career. Again, we see it over and over and over with these sick, disgusting, depraved bastards. These people get into power, and once they're in power, they can't control themselves. They have to abuse, they have to harass, they have to molest, and they just have to be generally dickish. Because that's who they are. These people are predators, and not just sexually, just predators in general. And this is how they get off. I really did just go into it with this guy could help me, and this might be an answer. The pitch was, you can go there, and he'll pay you $300 cash, and you only have to massage him in your underwear, and for 30 minutes. That's it. And I was like, Okay, that doesn't sound that crazy or bad. A few months later, a car was sent to pick Olivia up and drive her to Epstein's Upper East Side mansion. When she arrived at his home, Epstein was waiting for her in his massage room. He had $300 in cash as well. Almost immediately, Olivia says he told her to strip down to her underwear and give him a massage. She says Epstein never once asked her how old she was. And at the time, I had braces, Olivia told Fox News. I looked very young. Looking back at it, it just adds to the disgust and kind of horror of the whole thing. And just to be clear, I said no. Like, I didn't want to be there when he was doing these things to me. For up to 5 times a month, Olivia was giving Epstein massages. So up to 5 times a month, she was getting molested by Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, he's hanging out with George Stephanopoulos, Katie Couric, hanging out with Doug Band, hanging out with all of these supposedly elite people who tell us about how bad everybody is and how divisive everybody is. Meanwhile, they're running with this goddamn pedophile and stuck to his teat, trying to get some of that golden cow Mecca juice coming out of them, because that's really what they want. They wanted something for Epstein, and like Prince Andrew said in his own words, he thought that Epstein could provide things for him. What does that even mean? This went on for a few years. Then Epstein allegedly assaulted her by performing oral sex on her without her consent. Olivia also alleges that she was forced into performing oral sex on Epstein. I didn't want him to go down on me, and I didn't want to go down on him, Olivia said, and I didn't want to do any of it. The difference between that first day and the optimism I had was so different than 2 years later and what I'm clearly still dealing with now. It's just, I don't know how such a powerful person can do this and get away with something like this for so long. She is not wrong. It sounds like me. That's exactly what I say on a daily basis. How can this scumbag get away with this for so long? He, around so many supposedly smart people, the higher crust of society. Oh, well, somebody. That's the people he's around, and they're too stupid to see what he was. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. I just do not buy it. Olivia says that on several occasions, Epstein masturbated in front of her and forced her onto the massage table. He is also alleged to have coerced her to touch herself. Well, we know that Jeffrey Epstein really was that kind of guy, right? He had so much power, the Victoria's Secret angle, the MC2 angle, just being completely and utterly rich angle, the powerful friends on the wall angle. We know that these girls were intimidated by him. We know that these girls were coerced to do things they did not want to do. All right, we know that. How many more girls have to come forward before somebody else is arrested? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? Epstein is also alleged to have used massage tools on her. Sometimes I get so flustered, I don't even know what that means. Like massage tools on her? It's just... I have visions of like the movie Hostel. I know it's not exactly that, but that's what I have visions of. He also tried to sway her with gifts, including lingerie and concert tickets. Oh, well, that's the oldest one in the book. Hey, little girl, I have some candy. You want to see my puppy? Oh, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein, man. This guy was the biggest, sickest, disgusting mother effer in the history of disgusting mother effers. I am so glad that he is dead. And I hope it was painful when he went out. I hope that when he either was murdered or he suicide, whatever it was, that it was completely and utterly painful. Epstein frequently promised to help Olivia with her acting career, according to the lawsuit. And there's some pictures in here, too. It's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein's home on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, etc., etc. He knew that I wanted to be an actress. He fed on that, she says. He started making promises like, I want to support you. I want to help you. I know powerful people. And he was just such a master manipulator. And he very quickly was like, I can introduce you to Harvey Weinstein, and said, if you lose weight, if you do this, if you do what I tell you to do, you can make it. Now think about how powerful that is, folks. You have a guy at Jeffrey Epstein. You walk in, you're a girl from insert small town here or insert small city here. You walk in. You see all these pictures on the wall with Bill Clinton, et cetera, et cetera. He's talking about Harvey Weinstein. He's talking about his friendship with this one, with that one. Prince Andrew. What person, what girl would go in there thinking that she's going to be raped by somebody like this, somebody that's this high profile? I mean, it's just one of those things where you say to yourself, these poor girls, they walked in there and all of this power is resonating around them. What do you expect them to do, right? What do you expect them to do? Olivia recalls one instance in which Epstein forced himself on her despite her protests. It would be the last time she saw him before cutting off communication. He didn't want to stop, she says. The last time I went, I said no repeatedly, and he kept pushing himself on top of me and doing things to me that I did not want him to do. And after that, I just felt like I can't do this anymore. The other plaintiff who spoke to Fox News, Lily, says she was a 19-year-old college student looking to break into the fashion industry when she first met Epstein in June 2001. I was asked by a friend if I wanted to meet an influential person who could potentially help me in guiding me in my career, she told Fox News. Apparently, Epstein had a lot of connections, and he knew a lot of people. That's what I was told. So, again, you had all these people, all these high-profile people telling these girls, yeah, no, it's cool. Jeffrey Epstein will hook you up. He'll get you a job. He'll hook you up. You'll be fine. You're going to work for Victoria's Secrets. Everything's going to be famously beautiful, darling. And then, really what happens is they're abused. They're treated like crap. They're kept in these little apartments. They're forced to pay exorbitant amounts of rent for 5, 6 of them in one apartment. And it becomes a literal nightmare for these girls. Lily alleges that years of abuse began immediately after she met Epstein at his Manhattan home. Again, the same exact path that we've seen over and over. It was a small room, so I felt trapped and in fear, she said, and I didn't know what was about to happen. I felt as though, even though I was in fear, he was manipulating me to feel like he was going to woo me or take care of me or be able to show me things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to experience. I mean, it's taken me so many years to even understand what has happened, and I really don't think I'll ever completely understand his motives. Oh, man, I feel for these girls. I honestly feel for these girls. And anyone who's like, yeah, I don't believe I had someone email me talking about how he doesn't believe Virginia Roberts, how he says that the emailer was talking about how Virginia Roberts, she knew what she was doing. Yeah, okay. A 17-year-old being trafficked by these powerful monsters knows exactly what she's doing. And furthermore, how can a woman who's being trafficked consent? She's being held in bondage, basically. And you're telling me that woman can consent? Sorry, wrong. This is not the right podcast for you, if that is how you feel. She added, I feel like I didn't understand, so I therefore couldn't stop what was happening. There was just a way he knew how to control you. Lily said she was flown by Epstein to his private island in the Caribbean where the abuse continued. He also had an office in St. Thomas, and I was abused there too, she said. That's actually when he raped me. Oh, man, reading these articles about these girls is so painful. It is so painful. I wonder how long they've kept these secrets. I wonder how long they've been forced to live like this. I wonder how many of them have been forced to take medication to help them with their anxiety and their depression and the PTSD, and they've been abandoned. The Justice Department has abandoned them, folks. The Justice Department does not care about me. They do not care about you. And they certainly do not care about Jeffrey Epstein's victims. If they did, there'd be more arrests. If they really cared, Ghislaine Maxwell would be thrown into a live volcano on national TV after a speedy trial. The lawsuit filed against Epstein's estate by 9 of his alleged victims earlier this month alleges that the financier, pedophile, sexual abuse of girls and young women began as early as 1985, and he targeted victims as young as 13 years old. 13 years old. 1985? The accusers, known as Jane Doe 1 through Jane Doe 9, are among more than 20 women so far to formally seek compensation from the late pedophile financier $577 million estate. Epstein died August 10th while he was awaiting trial on unrelated charges in a Manhattan prison. unrelated charges. No, they were all related. I think they were all related. Epstein's death at 66 was ruled a suicide, allegedly, and came 5 weeks after his arrest on federal charges that he trafficked dozens of underage girls from at least 2002 to 2005. He had pleaded not guilty. And not only did his death come weeks after all of that, 1 day after the information about these people was unsealed, Epstein was, quote-unquote, found dead of suicide. Lawyers for Epstein's estate did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the lawsuit, which was filed in a New York State court in Manhattan. The plaintiff's lawyer, Jordan Merson, said he is still working to determine the identity of all of Epstein's associates. Oh, Mr. Merson, pop on over to the podcast. I have a whole nice list for you. I have a very, very nice list I've compiled of people that you might want to talk to. And I'll tell you what, I'll do it for free. I'll even give you all of my information for free. Any of the girls' lawyers who are listening out there, feel free to go through the podcast and use whatever you would like. Anything to get rid of these numbnuts. Anything to get rid of these monsters. Meanwhile, one accuser, Jane Doe 2, said in court filings that Epstein sexually assaulted, abused, and battered her starting around 1985, when she was 23. And remember, folks, he wasn't just after kids. It was women in general that he was abusive to. He was sex trafficking any sort of underprivileged woman he could find. Any woman who was in a vulnerable position, Jeffrey Epstein was there to leap in and turn her in to whatever he decided he wanted to turn her into. And it's sad, it's disgusting, but we all have to be aware that there are many more people like Jeffrey Epstein out there, folks. And at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want there to be more awareness about this because, like I've said, I'm on record here talking to you guys about this. I had no idea that this was such a prevalent problem. I knew that there was a problem. I knew that there was a lot of sick dudes who really, were just sick people. But I never really understood the actual ramifications of the whole trafficking industry worldwide. I have never really looked into that. I was more, like I've always said, I was involved in politics as far as Near East politics especially. So this really wasn't on my menu of things to dive into even. But once I started really getting into the nuts and bolts of this and I saw the corruption, I saw the cover-up, and then I started to learn the stories about the girls, well, that's when the true anger really came in because I'm used to being lied to by the government, right? I'm used to the government doing crappy things to make our lives more difficult. That's par for the course. But what I'm not used to is reading about sexual abuse of women and the trafficking of women by these powerful people. And that was a real eye-opener to me about what is really going on. And that's when I decided that this podcast was needed and this format was needed and that I was ready to go to war with these people, literally ready to go to war with these people. Another accuser, Jane Doe 1, said she was 14 when the abuse began around 1990, while Jane Doe 3 said she was just 13 when her abuse began around 2003. And we know he likes them young. We know that. We know that Jean-Luc Brunel sent him over 3 12-year-olds from some war-torn country. We know that Jean-Luc Brunel asked him if he wanted a 16-year-old. We know all of this, all right? On November 14th, the executors of Epstein's estate, Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, asked a judge in the U.S. Virgin Islands to establish a voluntary restitution fund to compensate Epstein's victims. The fund's administrators would include high-powered attorney Kenneth Feinberg, who has overseen payments on claims tied to September 11th terror attacks and the 2010 BP oil spill in 2010. The latest accusers join a long line of women who have spoken out claiming to be victims of Epstein. Just 10 days after Epstein's death, 3 other women filed a lawsuit against the financier, pedophile's estate. Those women allege they were recruited, subjected to unwanted sex acts, and controlled by Epstein and a vast enterprise of co-conspirators. We need those co-conspirator names. That's why this trust is so bad news for this case, so much bad news for this case. Don't get me wrong, I want these girls to get compensated, but there has to be another way, right? We have to get to the bottom of this. We have to know who was involved in this. We have to, or else they're going to keep doing this. Epstein has been the subject of at least half a dozen civil suits stretching back to 2008. One of the suits filed by Virginia Roberts back in 2015 is currently causing a crisis for the royal family, with Roberts claiming she was trafficked to have sex with Epstein's friend, Prince Andrew, when she was just 17. Andrew has denied having sex with Roberts and says he doesn't have any recollection of meeting her, despite a photo that appears to show him with his arm around her waist. Yeah, okay. We've been through Andrew at this point. It's like low-hanging fruit. It's like picking on somebody you shouldn't pick on at this point. He's just such a moron. He is such an idiot. I've never even met her before. We have the picture, you buffoon. We have the picture. That is called proof, you pampered moron. Andrew, 59, has apologized for his association with Epstein, after he didn't apologize for it in the interview, who died in prison on August 10th in what New York City officials have ruled a suicide, allegedly. He was facing sex trafficking charges after earlier serving time for other sex offenses. The disgraced prince says he is willing to cooperate with appropriate law enforcement inquiries if required to do so. He also faces possible subpoenas from women who are suing Epstein's estate who believe Andrew may have valuable testimony about abuse they suffered. The scandal is one of the worst to grip the royal household in recent decades and has severely tarnished the reputation of the prince, one of Queen Elizabeth II's 4 children. And that's all they care about, the reputation. They don't care about the victims. They don't care about Virginia Roberts. They don't care about none of these girls. Has the Queen reached out to Virginia Roberts? Has the Queen come out and said, I'm sorry that I have a son who is a monster? No, none of that. None of that. We'll just banish him and hope it goes away. Well, it's not going away. All right? And do I feel for the prince's daughters? I do. Those 2 girls had nothing to do with this, right? That one of his daughters, Princess Beatrice, is getting ready to get married. It should be a great day in her life. Happy lead up. They're the royal family. A huge wedding, the whole thing with all the pomp and the circumstance, the bells, the whistles. But no, your dad is a sick bastard. He was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and now he ruined her life as well as his. What a hell of a guy, huh? He also used his daughter as his alibi for that night, so I guess we shouldn't expect too much from Handsy Andy, the buffoon prince, the George W. of the Windsor clan, folks. All right, so again, when we read articles like this, I honestly feel dirty. When these girls come out and they tell their stories, it's heart-wrenching for me. It's just absolutely, positively heart-wrenching to someone's sister, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's cousin, that's someone's friend. That's a human being who has been through complete and unimaginable trauma. And she has been failed by the justice system. She has been failed by the media. She has been failed by the political elite. She has been failed by everybody. Every one of these girls has been failed by the whole entire system. But that's coming to an end. That party is over. That party is over. We're not taking half measures here. We're not holding back. I'm coming out both guns blazing every single day, wherever the evidence leads me. And if you think I'm too rough on Prince Andrew, well, like I said earlier, this is probably not the right podcast for you, because I could be going nuclear on so many people that have been mentioned in this case as on the outside, basically, people that haven't really been mentioned in court filings, but there's a lot of smoke there. I don't put none of those people on blast, folks. I use the mainstream media's own articles and go from there. That way there can be no questions about my motivations. My motivations are very clear. My motivations are to end these people. And anybody who was involved in this case, I want them to pay the price. I want swift trials and harsh justice. That's all. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. All right, folks, if you would like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. And if you would like to support the show, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody, I will be back this afternoon for an evolution segment. And then, of course, I take it easy. Take it easy. Of course, I'll be back for the Daily Drop, folks. You know, I couldn't go a night without sharing the evening with all of my favorite people. I hope all of you have an amazing Saturday. Whatever you're doing today, it's the winter solstice, getting closer to that beautiful holiday of Christmas. I hope that if you're traveling, everybody is safe. Take your time. No need to rush. Don't text and drive. None of that nonsense. Load up the podcast. Get yourself a nice cup of hot chalky. And listen to the podcast and drive to your destination or fly to your destination, whatever it may be. But remember, when you get there, remember to take a good look around at all your family and friends and realize that life is short. Life is very short. So make sure you're enjoying your time with them. All right, folks. I don't wax too poetic on this show with my philosophical leanings too often. But with the holidays coming and a lot of people traveling, I just want you all to be safe during your travels, and I want everybody to have an incredible Christmas. I just hope you guys all have an incredible lead up to it and an incredible Christmas, because what we've been doing here on this show has been, it's been a dark road for us. It's been it's depressing to read a lot of this stuff, and it's hard. It's a hard story to cover. It really is. It weighs on me. There's no doubt. But with the holidays coming up and I have family coming to town, I'm sure all of you have the same thing going on for the most part. I just want everybody to make sure that they're taking the time to look around and being thankful for what they have, because as we see, there's a lot of people that come from places where nobody cares about them. So, all right, everybody, I will be back later on with the rest of the segments and all the other good stuff that the Jeffrey Epstein Show and your favorite loudmouth host, Bobby Capucci, bring to you. Until then,